What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome back to Park to Prem. Today we have the start of a whole new season and a whole new day. It is season number 8, if I'm not mistaken. 8 already. How are we 8 seasons into this save game? Of course, that does mean that if you missed yesterday's episode, you missed the end of season livecon, which was a playoff final. I'm going to give you a moment to go back and watch it, and well, if you've already watched it, you already know what's happened. Oh, we're in the championship again, everyone. 3 defeats out of 4 at Wembley. I don't like Wembley anymore, everyone. Can we play playoff finals at the Millennium Stadium again or something? Go back. Take me back there. I say that. In real life, I went to watch 2 playoff finals back when they were being hosted in Cardiff. And on both occasions, the teams I went to watch lost. So maybe Hampden Park? No, okay, it's not going to catch on, right? Serious business, everyone. This is a serious season for us because I want to get promoted and we should get promoted. And you might be sat thinking, Jack, you've had an off season. Why is there still £67 million in the bank? Why is there still £400,000? Look, as I said last episode, I don't think there's that much that actually needs to change about the team. Although I will say we've been busy in the transfer market. And well, shall we talk about our transfer business? Because I feel like that's the most interesting thing going into a new season. It's what's changed, what have I had to do? And, well, in terms of the ins and outs, a few players have left us. One might kind of strike you as a little bit of a surprise. The first is Chris Willis. I will hold my hands up and admit, I did not realise he had an active relegation release clause from when they were relegated Nottingham Forest from the Premier League a couple of years ago now. He did, though, and he's gone to Fulham for 13 million. To be honest, I'm not that upset about it, which might seem harsh, but I feel like Chris Willis, he's got 10 finishing and 10 passing. So he's not your out-and-out goal scorer. He's not a goal-scoring midfielder. He's not a midfielder who's going to pass through defences and cut teams open. He can't cross even. I'm pretty content with the money that we've got. Even if he's 20 years old with a little bit of potential, I wasn't that upset that the release clause existed. Following Balogun has also left us. You might think, Jack, why has he left, a year after he joined, or 6 months after he joined? We signed him in January for 4.2 million. We've sold him on for 8 million, which is profit. The reason is, he was very upset with me that I hadn't kept a promise to play him as an advanced forward. Now, I will hold up my hands and say, I forgot that I promised him he'd play as an advanced forward. He's been playing as a complete forward, didn't like it, complained a lot, sold him on, got a lot of money. Who's the real winner there? I think we are. Anyway, the last of the big transfers, really, is Jakob Sorensen, who's gone to Cagliari. Of course, the Dane was playing for us in the playoff final as a bit of a backup option. He is a good player, but at 29 years old, he's not getting any younger. And his wages at the club, actually, they were significantly higher than the contract he's now signed in Italy. He was on, I think, £50,000 a week. He was the highest earner at the club. Considering that under my leadership, he really didn't make too many appearances. Just decided to sell him on to get him off the wage books. The actual fee, I think, could rise by 1.5 million. Yeah, you can see there, potential cost including add-ons. We just needed him to play some football in Italy. So go on, Jakob. Settle in, score lots of goals. That would be very, very nice. Elsewhere, you can see a whole host of players going out on loan. A few other players sold, mostly squad players. Klimala has left us to go to Legia. Of course, we've had a few Polish players coming in, so we've given Legia one back. I feel like we need to get an affiliation going there with Legia Warsaw. But either way, really, really good deal for us. We've got him off the wage books. He wasn't playing for me last year, and that's kind of been the general trend. I used this transfer window as an opportunity to move out a few of the players who I wasn't 100% happy with being at the club and who we'd kind of just inherited. There were a few players who have gone out on loan. Also, Felix Garcia left us on a free, just as a reminder. Former Lincoln man. I know some people are going to want to know where he's going. He's going to Hibs. But in terms of other deals kind of going on here, you can see Steve Seckler, or Setka, not Seckler. There's no L in his name, everyone. He has gone to Porto. You might remember me complaining last episode about the fact he hadn't got a work permit, and I was going to apply for another one and see how he got on. He didn't get it, so we've sent him on loan to Porto. They are paying pretty much all of his wages. We're going to keep a close eye on this man. I'm hoping he's going to have a work permit by January and we can call him back, although I know that that isn't necessarily how these things play out. Elsewhere, a few other players did go out on loan, and, in terms of transfers in, we've been busy. And you might look at this and go, that's a few transfers. What if I told you that I made a few before the last season officially ended? I feel like this didn't used to be the case, but this year in Football Manager, if you make signings at the start of June, before the official tick-over date, it's around mid-June, you probably notice it, all the league tables reset and stuff in England. If you sign players before that date, they appear on this screen here, which I find a bit annoying, but we'll deal with it. So, yeah, we have signed a whole host of players, lots of youngsters as well, which is great to see. In terms of the youngsters, we've got Woodfine here, who has joined us on a free transfer. He's a Welsh under-21 international, was available on a free after he was told by Liverpool he didn't have a future at the club, so we swooped in for him. Mustafa Sai has joined us from Valencia. What an insane signing this could be. 450k, he had a release clause, he was playing in the Spanish under-20 team, has a fantastic last name, and I know I said I didn't need any more centre-backs last episode. When you can sign a guy as good as this guy for less than £1 million, like, you break your own promises, everyone, and I think we can all agree he's a good player. Do expect him to feature infrequently in the first team going into next year. We then have Ross McIntosh, who has gone on loan to Rotherham right away. You might remember we signed this guy from Chelsea on a free transfer. Talked about him last time, a good little centre-back with a little bit of potential. We then come to the new Polish striker we signed from Gladbach, and I had a whole host of kind of name suggestions. I'm just going to call him Spider-Man, everyone. I mean, look, it's almost like Spider in his name. It's a bit of a stretch. Look, Spider-Man. If he can't do it, no one can. He's also in the Media Dream 11 in League One playing for Rochdale. Anyway, the next player we've got is from Boca, and it's Gaston Urquiza. I'm just going to call him the Quizmaster, everyone. 18 years old, fairly ambitious personality, lots and lots of potential. We have signed him for a measly 4.5 million. I think it's just a really, really good, cheap Argentine wonder kid who actually got a work permit. Occasionally players do get them, and you can see here he can play naturally, or rather accomplished as a right wing back and naturally as a centre mid. With that in mind, I do feel like he could offer us a little bit of squad depth as a defensive winger. You'll notice here, fairly ambitious personality, and he only turned 18 a few months ago, so loads and loads of time for him to improve. He's going to be chilling out in the under-23s for now, and well, then we get on to some first team signings. And a familiar face, everyone. Yes, Leighton Stewart. If you're not familiar, last year with Park to Prem at Town or Town, Leighton Stewart wasn't as good as he is this year in Football Manager. He was a relatively unknown prospect at Liverpool. This year in real life, he's really... Well, actually, no, the last couple of seasons in real life, he's had some really big breakout performances for Liverpool. He's significantly better than he was last year. I think last year he played with us kind of up until the Vanarama national level. This year he's playing for us in the Championship, and he looks really, really good. A proper kind of traditional advanced forward. Maybe lacks a little in the finishing department, but he more than makes up for that with his insane physicals. He's quick, he's got endurance. We have signed him for 10.5 million. Some would call this a nostalgic signing. I can assure you he's going to be a big part of our first team plans this year. Anyway, the last player we signed before the official kind of season end date ticked over was Palembi, who we've signed, who is a young French 21 years old midfielder. He's really good. He's really, really good. And then you realise we signed him for 6 million because he was transfer listed by Dijon, who, if I'm not mistaken, did Dijon get relegated, or am I hallucinating? No, they did get relegated. So with that in mind, swooped in, £6 million. He's very blooming good. Minor but... he is injury prone, and I know that probably is going to raise some eyebrows because we had all the injuries at the end of last season to centre mids. So not only have we signed this insane new centre mid, we've also added to our potential injury woes. Anyway, in terms of what's been going on this side of the new season, obviously Seka has joined us and left straight away. We've signed Sebastian Franz from Stuttgart. He was available on a free transfer. 20 years old, he's a very kind of traditional left back. We're going to try and mould him into a bit of a defensive left winger and see what becomes of him. Ultimately, as far as free transfers go, it felt like a pretty good punt to go for. He's already got some pretty good current ability, the 20-year-old. We then have Matt Smith joining us. Adds a little bit of strength in depth at centre mid, but what I really like about this guy is the potential for him to be a backup out on the right-hand side. I discussed it last episode, but behind Roger, we didn't really have a go-to defensive right midfielder. I think Matt Smith here ticks that box and then some. Welsh international, 27 years old. He was playing for Austria Vienna, who weirdly, and I don't have Austria loaded, so this might be why this has happened. You can see here they've been demoted down to the second division of Austria. But if we just look at the actual league itself, where is it? They won the league in 2026 and then they got relegated the year after. I don't know what's going on there with Football Manager, but as a result, yeah, we were able to swoop in and get Smith on the cheap, which was very nice. I did actually have a look at a few of their other players, but ended up not making any moves. The next player we have is Akamash, who I'm definitely not saying his name correctly. We signed him from Barcelona, a player who I think has a little bit of hype at the new camp around him, a player with a hell of a lot of potential. In this save game, he's not really hit the ground running, he's not really shone, But I feel like for the price that we paid, which was 2.7 million, he could be a pretty interesting backup option for us to have. He can play as an attacker, potentially as a centre attacking mid if we need to change things up and go to the 4-2-3-1 throughout this year. And in terms of really good options to have on the bench, I think he's, the perfect kind of sub player to have as a bit of a secret weapon in our arsenal on off the bench. Anyway, the next player we have is Thiago Araujo. He has joined us from Frankfurt. He can play left back, left mid. I think you can see what this kind of signing is. He's a little bit of depth in the wide areas. Whilst we have got some pretty good left midfielders, like, of course, Smith and, of course, Sigros. And I do like Sigros. He's had so many issues with injuries in his short spell at the club. I've never really been able to rely on him to be the backup left defensive mid. With that in mind, Araujo comes in a little bit quicker, a little bit better vision. Not a whole world of difference between them. Expect to see them fighting for positions, but he's just a little more reliable. I may even look to loan Sigros out depending on how the season starts and how we get going. And while the last player we signed very, very late on, less than a week before the start of the season, is Riyad Talbi, who we've signed from Lyon. Last year he was on loan at Espanyol, was not really given a chance to shine. But at 23 years old, he is another really, really exciting prospect. I mean, you can just see he's not the most well-rounded of players. His mentals are lacking a little bit. He's not going to be a threat in the air, but he ticks a hell of a lot of the boxes as an advanced forward. And I do also think he can do a pretty decent job for us as a deep line forward on support. Not a cheap transfer by any means, but he just absolutely screams quality. A crazily good, technically gifted player. And expect to see him featuring in the first team fairly regularly throughout this season. So speaking of this season, let's talk about the challenge ahead, because it is going to be a tough season. Two huge teams kind of in this save game have been relegated down from the Premier League, and those two teams really are Bournemouth and also Norwich City. You can see here, these are two teams who are, consistently towards the top. Norwich were very, very high up. They finished 6th just 4 years ago, but a couple of awful years. Finishing rock bottom last season has been, pretty shocking, to be honest. And it does mean that going into this year, despite all the additions we've had to our team, despite how good our squad is, we are only third favourites right now in the season preview. That said, you can see Brewster's in the Media Dream 11, Adrian Smith is in there as well as the back three for our team, all featuring Hoover, Peter and Roberts, making up 3 of the back 4. Just for a little bit of comparison, I suppose, Kelly of Bournemouth is one of the players who's in the Media Dream 11, although he may be on his way out the club, was actually a player who I did consider signing, but he wasn't interested in talking to me, somewhat unsurprisingly. Elsewhere, Bournemouth have got Lammers as their leading man up top. Be interesting to see how he shapes up at this level. You can see, though, he is requesting to leave, so there is the possibility that in the month between now and the transfer window closing, these two teams do get a little bit weaker. As for Norwich City, they've got Ferran Torres playing for them. Not a bad little player to have in your ranks. You can see here they signed him for 45 million. Hasn't really lived up to the expectations, I suppose, but you would expect him to really shine in the Championship, should they be able to keep hold of him. So, we've got to be fearful of those two sides particularly. But, of course, at this level, the Championship is always fiercely competitive at the top. Anyway, just looking at things here, today's first game of the season is going to be against Bristol Rovers. Their pre-season billing is bottom of the league, so I'm hoping for a really convincing win. I'm hoping that we're going to be top of the table by the end of this episode on goal difference. And, well, in terms of the team to actually achieve that today, we have got a little bit of a conundrum, and that is because Adrian Smith is injured out on the left. Thiago Araujo is also injured out on the left, and Sigros, who is our third choice left mid, he's also injured. Of all the players that we have, Araujo has actually been cleared to play 45 minutes, so I am going to have to risk him a little bit here. Elsewhere in the team, Leighton Stewart and Talbi, the two new attackers, are going to start on the bench today. Maiton, Samake and Brewster going to lead the line. Talbi came in very late, less than a week ago into the team, and Leighton Stewart, I still feel like I don't necessarily need to rush him into the team yet. That said, do expect maybe one of those two players to be coming on for Maiton at some point in this game. The other option I guess I would have is to play Maiton out on the left-hand side of midfield instead of Araujo to stop risking fitness. Maiton really isn't a defensive winger, but I'm just wondering actually, against Bristol Rovers here, can I risk it? Can I chance it? You know what? I'm going to do it. This might be a mistake that I might turn out to regret this, but I'm going to take a bit of a gamble there. Elsewhere, Smith is not fit enough to start this game. So you know what? We'll bring in Akamash and see how he gets on. You know, another player who could potentially come on if we really need to change the game in the final third. And what I would say going into this season is actually Healy and Longstaff are starting at centre mid, but we have got Palembi on the bench. We've also got, of course, Robertson on the bench. And between those couple of players, Talby, Akamash, obviously Damani Grimes is also on the bench for us. We have got options to change the game, and that was something that I think we lacked at times last year, namely in that playoff final. Of course, that was partially down to injury, but with the few new centre mids that we've brought in, despite losing Balogun, we start the season with more attacking options on the bench than we had previously. And if Brewster, any of the front three really, Samake, you know, they are having a bad game. There's really good, high-quality options to bring on off the bench. In fact, one of the challenges I am envisaging this year is actually the struggle of keeping everyone happy. So that's going to be a mini challenge in itself, I suppose. But anyway, this is one of the first times we're going to see the 3-4-3 in action against a team who aren't challenging with us for the playoffs this year. So I'm hoping we're going to get a really good performance. You can see what it's all about. Why are the long throw trajectories so mental in game this year? I feel like they weren't like that before a match engine patch, but yeah, I've talked about it before, but I wasn't using long throws this year. Of course, in FM20, they were really, really effective. But with the 3-4-3, the way players position themselves on throw-ins, it's really weird because the defensive left wingers are taking the throw-ins and no one is stood near them. So it kind of feels like you have to do long throws, as on my word. Alex Mighton cutting in from that left-hand side, playing a bit of an unorthodox role for him. Had a great opportunity that was saved. Longstaff whips it in, Samake heads over. I suppose one of the big challenges this year for Samake is going to be matching his goal-scoring record of last season. It was just truly outstanding, to be honest. It was just silly how good he was from a goal-scoring, perspective. I hope he's going to be able to match it this year, although more so than last year. If he doesn't score goals, I don't feel as dependent on him, I suppose. Either way, ball being moved around superbly here. Regina out in the wide areas. What can Roger do? He's going to be fouled. It's going to be Ryan Brewster on the penalty. 13 minutes gone. We have been carving open Bristol Rovers on the regular. Now can we take the lead? The team predicted to finish bottom. This should be a convincing win, even away from home. And we've just missed a penalty. I feel like I'm cursed, everyone. Between last episode and today, maybe I just should stop playing Football Manager. Maybe that's it. I mean, hopefully not. Worth noting that last time we played Bristol Rovers, we lost 2-0 against them last season. So for, how bad they are, how much I'm dismissing them as a real threat, perhaps we do need to be a little wary here against them. Samake, big ball through to Brewster. Can he beat the keeper there? He can't, but Roger's going to keep it alive out on the right-hand side. What can he do? The 18-year-old, he gives it to Matty Longstaff, who whips in. Samake near post, saved away. Brewster gets the rebound. It was offside. I think it was Samake, actually, who was the man in the offside position there off the initial cross in. I mean, we've had two prime goal-scoring opportunities inside the first half an hour. I've just got to hope that this kind of pattern to the play so far, this dominance we've shown, is kind of how the rest of the game's going to play out. Because if this is just a phase, and we fail to capitalise on this kind of first half where Bristol Rovers haven't been good enough, we're going to regret it. Longstaff to whip in a ball. Last chance of the half, and it's going to be headed over by Hoover. I mean, it's as dominant a half as you're going to see of football. An XG of over 2, their XG of 0.04 doesn't really scream goal-scoring threat, but not doing enough in this game so far. Samake not having the best of games, but you know what? We'll remain calm at least to start the second half, although if they score here, we will start to panic. Coyle with the ball, inside to Taylor. Grant now with it. Coyle in the wide area. Grant now with it. If we can win the ball here, they could be in all kinds of trouble. And well, the ball is gifted to Mighton, who is going to battle away with it. Not once, but twice. Brewster tries to thread through Samake, who's not going to get there. Just a little bit too much on the pass. Roberts wins a header, though. Look, the build-up play is really nice. We're knocking the ball around superbly. Samake, finish that one, Samake. That is the kind of finish you want to see. Leighton Stewart with the assist, the number 9. And one thing that I've not really talked about with this system is the way in which the deep lying forwards drop out of possession and in the earlier phases of play is really interesting. You can see here you've got Brewster and Leighton Stewart. They are essentially operating as kind of centre attacking mids at certain phases of the play. And it really allows players to bomb on and run on ahead of them, always giving them options. It's something I've not really talked about, I suppose, exactly how this 3-4-3 is designed to operate. But yeah, early phases of play, when we're without the ball, the deep line forwards will drop into these pockets of space. And there's just so many runners around them, so much lateral movement up the pitch. There's always seemingly a pass on. Anyway, Brewster whips it in near post. Samake, what an insane header. I mean, if there was any doubt, would he be able to match last season's antics this season? I think they've been decided. And to think I was thinking about subbing him off. How dare I? How dare I? Brewster whips it in. Samake, little glancing header in off the post. Lovely, lovely goal. And he's going to want a hat-trick. Last year, he got a hat-trick of hat-tricks. See if he can get another one for his collection. Although with 18 minutes left, I think this is a pretty good opportunity to rotate things around. I'm going to bring in Palembi, the young Frenchman at centre mid, see what he can do. Leighton Stewart will keep on the pitch, but I'm going to take off Brewster. I'm going to bring in Talby. Give him an opportunity to shine. Still have got one sub, but you know what? I think we'll leave it for now, just in case of an injury. Don't want to use all our subs and then be caught without any options. Regina throws the ball forward. Samake's under it, volleys it, and blocked by the defender. Samake's aerial threat from set pieces just proving all too much for Bristol Rovers right now. Been a really, really good performance by us, though. They've done absolutely nothing in this game. Would be a shame to lose the clean sheet late on. Also, just noticed here, Norwich, one of the teams predicted to do so well this year, losing 2-0 away at Huddersfield. Samake looking for the hat-trick. Not with an effort like that. It's not going to happen. But no, this is a pretty good start to the season, all things considering. We lost to these guys 2-0 before, so I didn't want to come in too dismissive of their chances, but we've looked really good. It has to be said. We've created a lot. Maybe need to be a little more clinical with our opportunities. Would also be a shame to lose the clean sheet now as they come on the attack, but well, great headed one by Hoover there. Palembi, Fred through Samake for the hat-trick. Can he get it? No. He's had his opportunities. With 30 seconds left, that's surely the last. And, well, with that, it feels like it is just sadly going to finish 2-0. I say that like 2-0's a disastrous. Samake forces another save out the goalkeeper. Okay, maybe it wasn't his last chance, but I don't know. Good performance, I think. Not perhaps as, crazy as I was expecting, but with lots of new players in the team, it's to be expected. Defensively, though, what is that positioning? Oh, my word. Myton. Okay, you're forgiven there, mate. Myton not showing his defensive instincts there with his movement. But in the end, it finishes 2-0. And you know what? I think we have to be pretty happy there. We limited their opportunities. Perhaps that chance at the end, the best of the Bristol Rovers opportunities, but it was pretty dominant. And looking at things here, you can see Norwich City lost. Where did Bournemouth kind of go and do things? They beat Luton 4-0. I feel like Luton aren't necessarily the team that we can expect to get a result. No disrespect to Luton, but I don't think we can expect you to get a result against Bournemouth. I do feel like Bournemouth are going to be the big threat this year alongside Norwich City. Anyway, looking a little further forward to when we're going to be back next time, not entirely sure just yet, to be honest. I think we'll come back for maybe a game around the end of August, maybe even something like the Huddersfield game in September. Want to keep a close eye, obviously, on how the whole kind of league plays out early on. I feel like when I'm doing the first live com of the season, I want to come back with the second match of the year being against a team who have started the season well. It's a bit difficult to judge that off such a small sample size as this one game. But one thing is for certain, Samake looks good yet again. Maybe we can get him a France call-up. Maybe that's the end game of this save game. We'll have to wait and see. And well, until next time, guys, let me know what you made of our transfer business. I feel like we have really bolstered the squad this year. Very excited to have Leighton Stewart back. Hopefully we can make some more fond memories with him. And well, until next time, it is me, Jack. Oh, I did try and sign Sam York. Before we go. I tried to sign Sam York, everyone. I really did. He turned me down to go to Hamburg for 3.8 million. I'm not over it. Right, end the episode. Now I just feel sad. End the episode. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. It is me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.